Lawrence.
Back in 2001, I was at San Diego Comic-Con, and I think it was like even before Fantagraphics had printed Angry Comics, the first one, and my editor, Eric Reynolds, came up to me and he's like, "Have you seen this thing?" And he brought me this book, and it's called The Real Deal, and I opened up to a random page, and it was the very end of the first story, and this A-team like crew lands a helicopter in a parking lot, and there's a Chinese parking attendant saying, "No, you park here," and they proceed to stomp him to death. And I was like, "This is fucking outrageous. What is this?" And so I immediately ran over there, and I got a copy of number 5, I believe, and I sent everybody I knew. I was like, "You got to go over there. You got to get one of these books. They're incredible." And then I think like a couple months after, and at that time they had like a website. They looked like they were just like full on. They were just like full on the scene. And like a couple months later, I went to the website. It was gone. Trying to find anything about them, it was just nothing. And so there was just this long period of like, I think it's been like 10 years or so, and like nobody knew anything about them. Who are these guys? Are they dead? Are they alive? Are they, are they nuts in the mental institution? Nobody knew where they were, who they were, where are these books. They were very difficult to find, and so I'm really excited today because I finally get to meet one of my artistic heroes.
Right.
I finally was able to like scramble around and get a lot of these books together. I keep them right by my drawing table. I always refer to them all the time. It's just like, how am I supposed to do this fight scene? And, I just always look for them for inspiration and stuff because they're just so exciting, and like one of the best books and one of the most overlooked books of the 90s. Buck 8 Ball and all that stuff. Real Deal is where it's at. So, yeah.
All right. I'm glad everybody came out, and thanks to Dan Nato. We met over the internet, and he started buying my books, and here I am, and so I'm trying to come back with it now.
So when you guys started, where were you?
Oh, it was funny. Me and a guy named H.P. McGrail, we were working at California Federal Savings and Loan. He knew I drew, and then, I was working in a data center, and then he worked in record storage. And then he wrote, and then one time I was down in the basement, I was just kicking back, he was having lunch, and he had drawn this crazy-looking thing called GC, where a guy was with his girlfriend, and some guy selling oranges on the center divider, and he runs the guy over. And then his girlfriend says, "Wow, you really fucked him up." And then he says, "That could be you, bitch, if you fucked him up." So I sat there and I was like, "What the hell is this?"
And he drew them, or?
They're like stick figures, really.
Okay.
And so I said, "What's this?" And he saw it's a character I had called GC. And I said, "This is funny." So we just, we talked about it for a while. And finally I said, "Well, I draw too." And he said, "Yeah." And I said, "Let me do something with some of this." So, they gave me something to draw because like I would, draw, but I didn't have any purpose where it was going. So I would, I just filled all the characters out. I drew models of the characters, and.
What are your like artistic backgrounds? Did you just like do it yourself?
Yeah, well, I've been drawing since I was 3. I just started drawing when I was 3, and whenever I was in school, I always took art classes. And just one thing, a lot of rough family problems where I never had a chance to. I always wound up just working crappy jobs all the time, and money problems and stuff. But I've always tried to keep drawing. And when like I say, when I ran into him, it was just like I say, "Hey, here's something I can really sink my teeth into." And then so we would just draw them, just show it to guys at work, and they laugh. And then one time in the early '90s, we said like, "Hell, let's print this up." So we had a hard time finding a printer who printed comics. And when I went to this guy that printed this Wave newspaper, and the way I had drawn it, that's where we had the big size for the first, because I couldn't reduce it from the size I drew it.
Right.
So, had like 5,000 of those printed up, and then started hitting the Comic Cons and stuff. But then people said, "I like your book, but it's too big. It won't fit on my shelf." So then you're like, oh man. So then you had to went back with the second issue, but then it's just one of those things, like I said, printing comics isn't cheap.
Right.
And I made it for a while when I was working in computers. I made pretty good money, and my friend, he didn't make that much. So my partner, everything was just hit and miss, and then we're both working all the time. And you can't make the circuit, you can't do that. And then around '98, he had a bunch of health problems, and he passed away. And then so then that kind of knocked things for a loop. And then I started, but then I put out another issue. So my friend Kempe helped me with that, and then we put out more issues. But then people in my family were having health problems, and then a lot of money problems, and then you kind of you just wind up just going working some crappy job all the time, and then all of that. So anyway, recently I was looking out on eBay just for the hell of it, and I saw a Real Deal out there, and I said, "What is this? Somebody's selling my books out here." And so I said, okay, well, let me take a bunch and throw them up out there. And then they were selling like hotcakes, and then I ran into Dan.
Right.
And then after that, I put my own website back up. Mm-hmm. And then, you can buy it with, credit cards and stuff. So now the main thing, like I said, I'm trying to get it going again. I'm putting some funding together now. I'm going to get issue number 7 out. And then hopefully by next year, I'm going to start, hitting the cons again. And Comic-Con and the Small Press Expo and all of that stuff. And just get it going, because the main thing, the fans, like I say, if it was one of those things, if you were sitting somewhere and nobody liked it, you say, okay, bad idea, but everybody likes it. So it's like, it keeps you going. When you're at a Comic-Con, people, signing autographs and stuff, and they really like it, and you got people from England and all over the world, and you're like, what? They like this, so that's what keeps you going. So I'm definitely, going to come out with number 7, number 8, try to, got some other books on the hopper too, and
yeah, great.
Yeah, just want to keep going and stuff. Hopefully, this will be how I make my living and not other jobs and stuff. Yeah, that's what I'm working on.
Totally.
Yeah.
So, do you guys, or as an artist, were there other comics that you grew up reading that influenced you, or were there books around at the time that you were kind of looking to for any kind of influence?
I always loved Mad. I was getting Mad since it's not as good as it used to be now, but back in the 70s and 80s, I always loved the artists in there, Mort Drucker, George Woodbridge,
right.
Angelo Torres, all those guys. So I loved their artwork, and then I always loved a lot of the Marvel comics, George Kirby, Steranko, bunch of guys, I can't think of everybody's name right now, and then Milton Caniff, just a lot of, the guy that did Johnny Quest, that guy, I loved his, Doug Wiley. I loved his realism and stuff, and that's always try to, when I draw a Real Deal, I make the face is cartoony, but I try to get the bodies real. I want the backgrounds real, the cars real. I like that, always like that somebody who can really draw real.
Did you ever read any Dick Tracy at all?
Oh yeah, I love Dick.
Because it seems like a lot of your action scenes where people are shooting and they got just the straight line.
Oh yeah.
Bullet going into the person's body, and then they kind of have these sort of weird perspective things going on.
Well, I had a Dick Tracy lunchbox when I was a kid.
Probably
the
source of it.
Chance to go, because that was the only comic where it had blood in it and people getting killed and stuff. You're like, wow, people getting shot. All this stuff. So I like Dick Tracy.
And just you have a really great use of blacks, a lot of the blood is all black spurting out, and and just a lot of the dramatic shading is kind of noir.
Yeah, I love film noir movies, so like I said.
So actually, let's talk about Planet Dregs.
Yeah.
In this first comic, it's sort of interesting in that, unlike, I didn't read number 2 because as we talked about it, they're all gone. So I've never seen number 2, but this is the only one that I've seen where you draw the entire thing.
Yeah, number 1 and 2 would have the whole thing.
And even though the same stories kind of keep going throughout, Planet Dregs keeps going, but under other artists, William Clausen, and Dr. Chronic is the writer for that.
Yeah.
But